Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of The Great Ruler Season 2 Part 12 based on novel. So let's start. When the three Wang brothers saw Mu Chen's expression turn dark, they brought their guards up as they tightened their grips on their weapons. The one that seated on the rock was the boss, Wang Tong. He slightly frowned his brows as he looked at Mu Chen, whose gaze turned cold from his words. He never expected that the latter would have such a reaction from his words. No wonder you guys are still the defeated foes. Mu Chen raised his head. There weren't any ripples as he stared at the three before him. The smile on the corner of his face turned harsh and offensive, having ambitions yet no strength. Perhaps Li Xiantong won't even consider you guys as his opponents. When Mu Chen said those words, the Wang brothers' faces turned ugly as veins popped out from their arms. Their gazes were cold as they fixed onto Mu Chen. The latter's words had torn open the scar in their hearts. Back then, when the three of them had come to the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, they were arrogant and prideful. So, naturally, they were unwilling to be ordinary and, hence, they joined hands and challenged Li Xiantong, who was already an influential figure in the academy. However, the outcome was that they miserably lost. On the contrary, Li Xiantong, from back then, didn't have the attitude of a winner and only lightly cast a glance at them before leaving. His indifferent gaze left a deep impact on the Wang brothers. From then on, they kept a low profile and bitterly cultivated. Right now, their strength had soared to the point that they could even try charging into the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. They believed that if they were to encounter Li Xiantong again, they would be able to wash their disgrace away. Aren't you courting death? Wang Lei, whose face was blackened, had the most furious temper as he roared while staring at Mu Chen viciously. A quasi-heavenly transformation stage newcomer actually dared to behave so impudently before we three brothers? It seems that you've gained quite a bit of confidence in receiving those three moves from Li Xiantong. Wang Zhong sneered as he ridiculed. It seems like you have a huge repercussion to my words. Wang Tong's gaze was still as cold as before. Shortly after, his gaze dropped and added, however, since you've already said those words, then you, naturally, have to pay the price for your words. I hope that you'll be able to pay the price for it. Bang! As he shouted, Wang Lei, whose temper was the most furious, grinned. His hands abruptly gripped onto that sharp crescent blade. He took a step forth as astonishing spiritual energy ripples soared out. Heavenly transformation stage middle phase. The face of Anran and the two other girls changed. No wonder the Wang brothers were so arrogant. It turned out that their strengths had underwent such improvements. With the three of them having heavenly transformation stage middle phase's strength, in addition to their well-coordinated cooperation, they could even fight with heavenly transformation stage late phase experts. No wonder they dared to seek trouble with Li Xiantong the moment they finished their training. Brat, as long as you're willing to hand over all of your spiritual lights, as well as that girl, everything will be fine. However, since you're unable to understand what's best for you, don't blame me for being too heavy with my moves. Wang Lei clenched his crescent blade as his figure moved. He was like a streak of lightning as he appeared above Mu Chen. Both of his hands were holding the crescent blade as he issued a bark. Brilliant lightning flashes abruptly extended from the blade, along with the deep roars of resounding thunder. Roaring thunder slash! As he shouted, an overbearing lightning blade flew down like a violent light as it shrouded Mu Chen, along with a few feet in radius. Mu Chen raised his head as the lightning light was reflected in his black pupils. Boom! The lightning blade viciously hit on the spot that Mu Chen was standing, causing the ground to tremble. Cracks that were like a spider's web extended from the spot that the blade had landed. Mu Chen! When Anran and the other two saw Mu Chen being hit by that blade, they immediately exclaimed out. Luo Li, who was close by, however, didn't panic in the slightest. But even so, her hands had held onto her sword grip. Luo Li's pupils were cold as she stared at Wang Tong and Wang Zhong. Collapsed after the first blow. I wonder, how did you withstand the three moves from Li Xiantong? Up in the sky, Wang Lei's hands held onto his crescent blade as he stood with pride. He looked at the ground that was covered in smoke and dust as he couldn't help casting the corner of his mouth aside. That kid could not even avoid that one move of his. How did he get the courage to put on such an act before them? Really? An indifferent laugh, along with a chill, abruptly resounded from the rear of Wang Lei. His face instantly changed as the crescent blade in his hand slashed towards his rear with an overbearing blade of light. Pitch-black spiritual energy was blazing with black flames as it surged like smoke while bringing along blazing ripples and swept out. It had directly clashed against the blade of light without dodging. Clank! The sound of metal colliding resounded as sparks flew. Wang Lei's hands, which were gripping his crescent blade, trembled. His blade that was covered with the lightning's blade of light had actually dulled under the attacks of the pitch-black spiritual energy. Bang! Bang! However, before he could feel astonished, the figure before him charged over. That figure was covered in pitch-black spiritual energy as his fists, elbows and legs turned into a fighting machine. The attacks were like tidal waves as they swept towards him in all directions. Such ferocious attacks had instantly caused Wang Lei to be at a loss. As he defended, he clearly became in a little sorry state. Blazing and violent spiritual energy poured into his body on the spots that were attacked, causing massive destruction inside his body as pain was felt from his meridians and muscles. Beneath him, the Enran trio, along with all the teams that were disposed of by the Wang brothers, had all widened their mouths as they looked at the scene up in the sky. In nearly an instant, that Wang Lei, who was still coldly smiling and proud of himself, had fallen into a disadvantageous position. With this kind of face-to-face confrontation, Mu Chen, whose strength was just at the quasi-heavenly transformation stage, had actually suppressed Wang Lei, whose strength had reached heavenly transformation stage middle phase, completely. Dong! Up in the sky, the black streak of light had viciously clashed with the flickering lightning light. The spiritual energy fluctuations were like ripples as they spread out. Shortly after, the figure that was shrouded in lightning light flew out in a sorry state. As the lightning light weakened, it revealed Wang Lei's face, which was filled with disbelief. By relying on the robust strength of his heavenly transformation stage middle phase's spiritual energy, he was actually unable to defeat Mu Chen. Russell. As he was slightly absent-minded from the disbelief, that ghostly figure had, once again, appeared in the sky. Thereafter, that figure threw a fist down as pitch-black spiritual energy became similar to an erupting volcano as it brought forth a powerful mountain-crushing strength. Dang! As Wang Lei fluttered, he immediately used his crescent blade to withstand that strike. Thereafter, he felt a surge of overbearing and blazing spiritual energy violently invading it. Under the corrosion of the spiritual energy, the light on the crescent blade had instantly dulled down. Spiritual energy surged out as Wang Lei had turned into a meteor and fell down, and ferociously shot into the ground. In an instant, the ground trembled as smoke and dust surged out. The ground was cracked into a huge hole. Wang Lei was lying in the crater in a sorry state with a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. PFFFFT. He puffed out a mouthful of blood as his eyes were filled with disbelief. Do you now understand how I managed to withstand the 3 moves from Li Xiantong? A voice without much emotional ripple sounded out before him. When he raised his head, he saw Mu Chen, who was standing close by. On the surface of the latter's body, there was a faint silvery light as his black pupils became as cold as a couple of blades. His face abruptly changed as his figure immediately retreated. Russell. Mu Chen did not let him off easily and he took a step forth. A dragon roar seemed to resound out along with that step of his. In a flash, he had already appeared before Wang Lei. You dare! When Wang Tong and Wang Zhong saw that Mu Chen was pressing hard, they did not hold back in the slightest and abruptly barked out. However, just when they were about to take a step out, a clear sword cry sounded out. A surge of sword aura that could even cause the heavens and earth to tremble had fixed onto them. That sword aura was extremely sharp and made both of their faces change. When they turned around, they saw Luo Li staring at them. The black longsword in her hand was halfway unsheathed and the sword aura was being emitted from this. Wang Tong and Wang Zhong's faces thoroughly turned grave. They finally understood that this young girl before them wasn't as easy to deal with as they had imagined. Bang! A solemnly groan had sounded out before them as a figure had sourly flew back. Thereafter, it had ferociously shot into the huge rock beneath their feet, instantly causing the huge rock to crumble down. Wang Lei was in a sorry state, puffing out a mouthful of blood. They looked at the youth that was slowly making his way over, and there was finally some shock within their eyes. They had stepped on the wrong spot this time. Although they had never belittled Mu Chen before, they never expect that this freshman would be so hard to deal with. If this is the extent of your ability, then don't go look for Li Xiantong and embarrass yourself. Mu Chen indifferently looked at the Wang brothers as he looked down. Bring out some capabilities. One has to pay the price for the words they speak. These words are from you, so I believe that you guys will understand this better. Wang Tong's gaze was dark as he made a grip with his hand, and a crescent blade had appeared with a flash. He stamped the blade into the ground as a blade of light soared out. Even the clouds were split apart by the sharpness of his blade of light. What a huge tone! I admit that I've misjudged you. However, you still do not possess the capability to make us three brothers admit defeat. Wang Tong's gaze was sharp as he took a step forward. That soaring blade of light turned so ferocious that even the ground had scattered and smashed. I'll have a look at what price you will make us three brothers pay today. This was originally prepared to defeat Li Xiantong. But, right now, we'll serve you with it. I'll see if you have the ability to withstand it. He tightly gripped his crescent blade and, behind him, Wang Lei and Wang Zhong's gazes turned vicious. The three of them held onto the huge blade as the overbearing sword light spread out. Vaguely, there was a deep and low thunderous rumble resounding between the heavens and earth. At the entrance of the mountains, there seemed to be thunderclouds gathering up in the sky. Deep and low rumbles of thunder resounded between the heavens and earth as a violent blade light soared into the heavens. The momentum became more ferocious, as if all of the lightning had been gathered together. Even though the Wang brothers didn't have that much of a reputation in the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, their strength was something that could not be underestimated. At the beginning, when they dared to challenge Li Xiantong, this was already sufficient to prove it. If it was someone that had no foundation to be based on, why would they dare to challenge him? Wouldn't that be the same as asking to shame themselves? And since the Wang brothers had hidden themselves in bitter cultivation, their strengths had undergone huge improvements. Their strengths could not be considered as being what it was a year ago. Likewise, this boosted their confidence in challenging Li Xiantong. As long as they could defeat Li Xiantong, they would become the biggest black horse and become an influential figure in the academy. When that happened, all the time that they had spent on keeping themselves hidden would have been completely worth it. But, right now, they had already met up with Mu Chen, who was also difficult to deal with, before they even met up with Li Xiantong. If they could not even resolve the former, how could they go and challenge Li Xiantong? Therefore, they definitely had to truly defeat Mu Chen. Therefore, they had to let everyone know that whoever dared to challenge the three of them would only end up being defeated. A chill surged out from the Wang brothers' eyes. The three of them were holding onto their crescent blades, and the blades looked as though they were made from lightning. They flickered with lighting as the rampaging lightning energy was being emitted. The current them looked as though they were thunderclouds from the sky as they resonated. When the Enran trio saw the battle formation of the Wang brothers, their faces uncontrollably changed as they roared with anger. Wang Tong, aren't the three of you too shameless? The three of you are acting together to deal with a freshman. Wang Tong's face dulled as he rebutted, it was known to everyone that the three of us are used to working together. It doesn't matter if we're dealing with someone stronger or weaker, the three of us will still go together. You? Enran clenched her teeth. Wang Tong's gaze was cold as he looked at Mu Chen and slowly said, as long as you comply with everything we demanded earlier, perhaps I won't haggle with you about how impudent you were before. Mu Chen stared at Wang Tong as the corner of his lips rose. He slowly stepped forth and said with a light voice, the truth is, I also wish to tell you that one can't act so impudently. Ha ha. Wang Tong laughed from the anger as his gaze turned even colder. He no longer spoke to Mu Chen as he circulated all of the spiritual energy within his body. With their three strengths combined, their demeanor looked as though they had been condensed together as an astonishing spiritual energy pressure started to spread, enshrouding Mu Chen. Luo Li said lightly, do you want the both of us to go together? Support me, then. Mu Chen smiled. If he was, indeed, unable to contend with his opponents, then he wouldn't put up a strong front and reject Luo Li's help. But, clearly, the Wang brothers didn't possess that qualification to force Mu Chen to that step. Okay. Luo Li gently smiled. She did not insist, as she was well aware that Mu Chen had always been calm and rational. He wouldn't do anything like putting up a strong front on purpose. Since he would confront them, then he, naturally, had the confidence to do so. Luo Li lightly retreated as she moved out of the battlefield. The Enran trio immediately crowded around her and anxiously asked, "Can Mu Chen do it alone?" Senior sister apprentice Enran can rest assured. Luo Li lightly smiled as she said to comfort her. She directed her gaze towards that figure who didn't look sturdy, but was able to make others feel at ease. The gentleness that was shown on her exquisite face immediately made the Enran trio become absent-minded just from looking at her, as they exclaimed in their hearts. No wonder someone as talented as Li Xiantong would fall in love for her. Such elegance could not be seen on a second person in the entire Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy. However, looking from the current situation, Luo Li clearly already had someone else in her heart, and Li Xiantong probably could not have his wish fulfilled. Rumble. Powerful spiritual energy impacts constantly surged from the bodies of the Wang brothers as they reduced the huge rocks on the ground to dust. They tightly clenched their crescent blade as the lightning became even more dense. Up in the sky, thunderclouds were wiggling about as a lightning bolt abruptly lit up the entire region. Boom! As the lightning illuminated the horizon, the gaze of the Wang brothers had instantly turned into the look of predators as each of them issued a deep and low roar. The three of them burst out in an instant with a semicircle formation and flew towards Mu Chen. Their bodies were shrouded in lightning as they moved with extremely fast speed. Looking from afar, it looked as though 3 lightning bolts had streaked across the sky, causing even the air to tremble as they let loose deep and low thunderous rumbles. Lightning blade. As the 3 of them barked, they raised their blades simultaneously and threw a slash down. The ground was torn apart and a ravine was opening up. The 3 lightning crescent blades slammed towards Mu Chen without any mercy. Those 3 blades of light were extremely tricky as they sealed a majority of Mu Chen's escape routes, forcing him to fight them head-on. Mu Chen looked at the brilliant lightning as a cold light smeared across his black pupils. Spiritual energy surged and he moved forward, turning into a soaring dragon image as a dragon's roar resounded. Rustle. The dragon's roar echoed as the 3 lightning blades fell on the spot that Mu Chen was standing before. The earth cracked, but Mu Chen's figure had already disappeared. What fast speed! The Wang brothers' eyes turned cold. Previously, when Mu Chen fought with Wang Lei, he used this abnormal speed to toy around with the latter. Left side. Wang Tong narrowed his eyes as he abruptly issued a bark. When he barked, the 3 brothers displayed astonishing rapport. Blades of light with lightning instantly slashed towards the left direction. Bang! The earth cracked once again and a fuzzy figure had disappeared. The lightning strike was, once again, dodged by Mu Chen. Be careful, he's trying to defeat one of us by using his speed. Wang Tong barked. He seemed to have seen through Mu Chen's intentions. The 3 brothers were extremely well coordinated with one another. If any one of them were to be defeated, their coordination would also be affected. Among the 3 of them, the 3rd brother, Wang Zhong, was the weakest. When Mu Chen appeared on the left side, he should be targeting Wang Zhong. Rustle. However, when Wang Tong's bark sounded out, his pupils shrank. A fuzzy shadow had already appeared on the right. He was actually targeting me. Wang Tong's gaze turned cold. Among the 3 of them, he was the most powerful. But Mu Chen was actually targeting him. How stupid. Boom. Just when Mu Chen's figure had appeared, before Wang Tong could even speak, Wang Lei and Wang Zhong's tricky blades of light had already come crashing down towards Mu Chen, who was moving at lightning speed. Clank. However, just when the blades of light were about to close in on Mu Chen, the latter's body burst forth with a blade of light that instantly took the form of a black pagoda. As it flickered, a fluctuating black light was actually withstand the attack from the other 2. Lighting Python blade art. Wang Tong's eyes were sharp as he yelled. The crescent blade shined with lightning. It was like a huge lightning python as it whistled towards Mu Chen. Break! Mu Chen coldly smiled. Faced with Wang Tong's ferocious attack, not only did he not retreat, his hand signs changed and he threw a palm out. A majestic spiritual energy was sent out as it formed into a starry sky behind Mu Chen. A gigantic white tiger stood on the starry sky as it roared. Space was being ripped apart as it brought along a torrential killing aura and ruthlessly charged towards the lightning python blade. With Mu Chen's current strength, it was, naturally, smooth and easy for him to execute the divine seal of the white tiger without any difficulties. Bang! The white tiger roared as it heavily clashed against the lightning python. A killing aura surged forth and the lightning python, which contained lightning energy, was torn apart. Wang Tong's face finally changed. His attack was something that not even heavenly transformation stage middle phase experts could withstand. However, he never expected that it would collapse so easily under one of Mu Chen's attacks. That fellow had actually cultivated a deity-tier spiritual art. Wang Tong's eyes turned dark. Dang! The white tiger tore the lightning python apart, but there wasn't any decrease in demeanor. It continued to exude a killing aura as it pounced towards Wang Tong. The white tiger heavily clashed against his crescent blade, which was flickering with lightning. The sound of metal clashing resounded. Both of Wang Tong's feet were on the ground, but he was knocked back a few hundred meters. The huge trees that were along the way crumbled. Big brother! Wang Lei and Wang Zhong's faces changed as they witnessed Wang Tong losing to Mu Chen in face-to-face confrontation. How formidable! The Enran trio, as well as the three other groups, had their faces filled with fright. Chen Peng and the fellow leaders, however, had their faces filled with shock. Mu Chen was fighting three enemies all by himself, and yet, he could still grasp the loophole in their coordination, and send Wang Tong, the strongest brother, back. This kind of strength was a little frightening. Dong! Wang Tong stomped his feet on the ground, causing the earth to crack. He forcefully stabilized his body as fresh blood dripped from the hand that was used to hold his crescent blade. His eyes turned even colder. Don't think that only you have cultivated a deity-tier spiritual art. Lightning flickered across his eyes as he took a step forward. His figure soared as a brilliant spiritual energy, containing lighting, surged from his body and linked with the thunderclouds up in the sky. When Wang Lei and Wang Zhong saw that, they soared into the sky, as well as they circulated all the spiritual energy within their bodies. At the same time, a similar lightning shot from them and linked with a lump of thunderclouds. Thunder roared between the heavens and earth, causing the sky to darken as a violent wind howled and lightning flashed. Clearly, the Wang brothers were forced to the point that they had to reveal their trump card. Mu Chen, if you're able to withstand this, then the three of us will concede. Wang Tong's face was illuminated by the ferocious lightning. He coldly barked and, shortly after, the thunderclouds were torn apart as a huge lightning bolt shot down from the heavens, and landed on the huge blade in his hand. As for the other two, they were both like lightning beasts as their bodies emitted lightning energy. The three of them took a step forth, causing the heavens and earth to lose their colors. This was like the anger of a thunder god. They dazzled with lightning as they formed into three huge lightning blades that were a few hundred feet in size. Thereafter, they ripped apart the heavens and earth as they shot towards Mu Chen with extremely fearsome might. At the same time, the three brothers issued a bark that was like a thunderous rumble that resounded between the heavens and earth. Thunder God's 9 layers of heaven. The entire world seemed to turn dark and gloomy. Violent and wild sounds of thunder rippled throughout the skies, causing the might of thunder to fill the world. 3 resplendent and wild arcs of lightning ripped the skies with incomparable power, enveloping a 1,000-foot radius around Mu Chen. They were simply undodgeable. And Ran and the rest were startled by Wang Tong and his brothers till their faces turned slightly pale. It's no wonder why these 3 fellows dared to challenge Li Xiantong. With such a terrifying attack, the only thing a heavenly transformation late-stage expert could do was dodge. Not far away, Chen Peng and the other 2 squads climbed up and hurriedly fled the area, all afraid to be affected by such a terrifying attack. At the beginning of the hunting battle, They had some confidence in themselves. However, not long after it started, they had already met up with so many ferocious people. They knew that the appearance of such a ferocious person was only just an omen. At the later stages, there might more and more of those kinds of people, black horses that had concealed their strengths this whole time and were biding their time to show a brilliant feat. As for them, they would drown under the surging waves of black horses. After looking at each other's astringent expressions, they could only bitterly shake their heads. They had assumed that they had pretty good strength. They never thought that once those hidden black horses truly showed up, they would become so normal and plain. Their gazes converged on the youth that was surrounded by thousands of lightning arcs. Facing such a terrifying attack, exactly what outcome would he end with? At this moment, it was obvious that Mu Chen did not have any spare energy left to care about their gazes. Raising his head, he looked towards the lightning arcs running across the skies. A sliver of icy graveness started to condense within those black pupils of his. Blade glows that contained the might of lightning, he muttered to himself. It said that the trio had been bitterly training in the lighting territory for a very long period of time. This had resulted in their spiritual energy having the might of lightning mixed within. At the same time, the divine art that they trained in had connections with thunder and lightning. When fused and displayed, their might had turned even more wild and violent. The glow from the lightning reflecting on his pupils, Mu Chen suddenly clenched his fists tightly. The next moment, a faint glowing layer of silver had, unexpectedly, started to gradually appear on the surface of his body. Under the silvery glowing skin, there seemed to be the same lightning light sparkling within. This was the Thunder God physique, the reward that Mu Chen obtained from the mysterious bald old man after he successfully received a single strike from him. This Thunder God's body was obviously a part of an even stronger body refining deity tier spiritual art. Although it wasn't complete, Mu Chen could already feel how extraordinary it was. Mu Chen's mind sank as a ball of light, which appeared to be a lightning pearl, started to flow along his meridians. This lighting pearl was refined by Mu Chen within the 8th level of the lightning territory. Floating on the surface of the silver lightning pearl was a black-colored lightning pearl about half the size of it. Compared to the silver lightning pearl, it appeared to be very plain, with its surface full of potholes. However, Mu Chen knew just how terrifying this black lightning pearl was. This black lightning pearl was the end result of the condensed might of lightning from the divine black lightning. Naturally, while helping the 9 Netherbird resist the last remnant of the divine black lightning, he had also crazily displayed his Thunder God physique to its limits. Absorbing the strength of that divine black lightning, it had condensed within his meridians into this small black lightning pearl. However, after successfully condensing it, till now, Mu Chen did not dare to casually utilize it. He knew that once he displayed the strength of the divine black lighting contained within, he would incur some rather big troubles. Forming a lighting pearl within one's body was a result of training the Thunder God physique. Yet, Mu Chen did not dare to casually utilize it. Mu Chen scanned the black lightning pearl with his mind, before locking onto the silver lightning pearl. With a thought, the lightning pearl suddenly turned in a scorching sun as it released an resplendent lightning light. Thump! Within a seemingly deep and muffled bang, the silver lightning pearl violent shattered. When it shattered, the respondent might of thunder exploded like a raging tide, flowing widely and crazily along Mu Chen's meridians. Mu Chen's body seemed to instantly sparkle with a silvery light. The crack of thunder appeared within his black pupils. Thunder God physique indestructible and unextinguishable. A low roar resounded within Mu Chen's mind as the lightning light around his body exploded outwards. He felt the wild frightening power that seemed to want to shatter him apart. Unable to bear it, he faced the sky and roared. His roar was akin to the thunder, going so far as to mask the peals of lightning striking in the skies. Bang! With a step forward, the entire world seemed to instantly shatter and collapse. Gigantic fissures rapidly extended from under his feet. Within a dozen short breaths, an area of 3,000 meters in circumference was scattered and smashed apart. As the world fissured apart, Mu Chen had explosively shot forward, like a bolt of lightning. Under the astonished and shocked gazes from the surroundings, he dashed head-on towards the gigantic lightning light blades. Instead of adopting any method of evasion, he had actually used the most visually impactful way and rushed straight towards the lightning light blades. Seeing such a vicious attitude displayed by Mu Chen, the mouths of Chen Peng and many other people were slightly agape. Isn't this slightly too overbearing? You're looking to die? The furious cries of Wang Tong and the other two could seemingly be heard above the horizon. Mu Chen's actions were simply the greatest insult towards them. Therefore, the peals of lightning turned more violent and wild. Bang! The speed of the lightning light blades were too fast. Within a few breaths, they had already collided violently against the silvery glowing figure. At the instant of the collision, the heavens seemed to tremble and shiver. Roar! The lightning light blades expanded in an earth-shattering manner as if they wanted to split the heavens and earth apart. Within the lightning light blades that blotted the skies, the glowing silvery figure appeared extremely tiny and insignificant, as if it was struggling just to survive. Creak! Crack! The sharp lightning light blade sliced at Mu Chen's body, however no slash wounds were formed. It was as if they were slicing against metal, only resulting in faint white lines. Mu Chen looked at the wild lightning surrounding his entire body before slowly breathing in a deep breath of air. The glow surrounding him turned all the more resplendent and bright. As for the might of lightning that was sliced apart by the lightning light blades, all of them were sucked straight into his body with his utilization of the Thunder God physique. The mysteries of the Thunder God physique was obviously something that was too far-fetched for the trio to be able to understand. At this time, Mu Chen had already utilized the Thunder God physique to its maximum capability. His arms became as bright as silver while the lightning that seemed to have substance arc across it. An indescribably wild and explosive fluctuation started to ripple and oscillate. Bang! Within an indifferent expression, Mu Chen's arms suddenly vibrated. In the next instant, a fist rumbled towards the devastation-causing lightning light blades. Boom! The gigantic rumble of thunder cracking furiously resounded through the skies. Everyone could see the silvery glowing figure within the devastating lightning light blades suddenly turning extremely eye-blindingly bright. This was followed by an exceptionally devastating fluctuation which started to oscillate in ripples. Seeing and feeling what had happened before them, the pupils of the brotherly trio suddenly contracted. At this moment, the devastating lightning light blade suddenly froze. In the next instant, everyone was dumbfounded to see light waves, akin to cracks, completely running across each lightning light blade. Ping! A sound akin to glass breaking, a silvery light akin to the thunder god's spear piercing the heavens and earth. The lightning light blades were thoroughly destroyed, before the rumbling sounds of thunder crashing expanded out. Scattering about, they were, unexpectedly, thoroughly dissipating into thin air. As the lightning light blades dissipated, a silvery light slowly started to converge and condense, before transforming into a tall and thin figure. How is this possible? The trio had incredulous expressions as they looked at the figure that appeared. At this time, Mu Chen's clothing had already been ripped to shreds. His silvery skin had arcs of lightning traveling across it while a frightening power radiated from him, as if his body was encasted in lightning. Retreat! Wang Tong was the first to regain clarity. Suppressing the shock he felt in his heart, he loudly roared. As his words rang out, the trio explosively retreated, seemingly, at the same time. The power that Mu Chen possessed had exceeded their expectations. They never thought that their combined attack was incapable of dealing with him. With their current strength, it was already not enough to threaten the power that he possessed. Since that was the case, it was better to quickly leave this place. The trio's fast and direct actions made quite a few people feel somewhat shocked and astonished. This fellow was truly firm and decisive. Leaving without even paying any price? Don't you think walking off like this would be too discourteous? Mu Chen looked at the rapidly retreating figures. As that ordinary voice that held the roars of thunder rang out, he took a step forward. With the roar of a dragon and thunder resounding out, his figure instantaneously disappeared. Careful! Wang Tong's face violently warped as he noticed that Mu Chen's speed had increased. Being careful is also useless. A cold voice rang out from behind Wang Tong. A startled expression flashed past his eyes, before the crescent blade in his hands instantly slashed out. Bang! A palm that seemed to be formed by lightning extended out and directly grabbed and held onto the sharp body of the blade. In the next instant, a foot kicked out, carrying along an arc of lightning, before violently striking Wang Tong's chest without any mercy. Wang Tong spewed a mouthful of blood as his body rapidly shot down, before violently drilling into the ground with an enormous explosion. "Big brother," shouted Wang Lei and Wang anxiously. "Since you two wish to accompany him, down you go." Lightning sparkled and flashed as Mu Chen's figure appeared behind Wang Lei again like a spectre. Using the crescent blade in his hand like a stick, he violently swung down and furiously smashed it against the waists of the two men. Bang! Bang! Wang Lei and Wang Zhong sorrowfully shot down and created two new large holes in the ground. Hiss! Chen Peng and his group looked towards the three gigantic holes in the ground. There, the trio were lying down, spewing mouthfuls of blood. They were in extremely pitiful states, and there was not a trace of the previous brashness and arrogance from before. "This fellow is also too terrifying." All of them swallowed mouthfuls of saliva before raising their heads. In the air was the youth, sparkling with rays of lightning as he slowly descended. The lightning light dissipated, and his body started to regain its original color. This time, the gazes coming from them had an addition of respect and rejoice. Thank God they had not overly offended Mu Chen. If they did, their ending might have been the same as the trio. Mu Chen ignored their gazes and remained indifferent as he descended. With a flick of his fingers, the crescent moon blade turned into a ray of light and violently impaled the ground before the trio, sinking over a meter deep. The trio looked at the vibrating blade as their faces turned slightly pale. Dusting off his hands, Mu Chen stared at them with a faint smile on his face. Except, that smile made the trio feel a chill all over their bodies. Next up, let's have a nice talk about the so-called price. This video will end here.